So you know Peyton Manning pretty well. Played a couple snaps together, right?
Fairly decent. I know him fairly well.
All right. So he's number 3 on this list. Tom Brady is 20.
Yeah. So I would love to know how you're being measured on it. I would say this from a strictly individual dominance. You've seen how many MVPs Peyton Manning has won. That's obviously going to put him up. If you look at their statistics side by side, Manning has always been the better statistical quarterback. No matter what you're putting, what he did in the game, all of those things. Everybody's argument, though, in this is going to come back to championships and how many of those championships do you assign to Tom Brady and what he did versus the team. I think anytime you deal with quarterbacks, especially the way we're defined in the NFL, it's always defined by rings. That's how people talk. But if you want to go strictly by each individual performance, Peyton Manning was the most dominant. I mean, you look at what he did week in, week out. Statistically, there's a reason he's got all those MVPs. He flat out played as well, if not. I mean, he played the best of anybody in our generation at the time I was playing.
Yeah, I guess they couldn't measure postseason wins because it wouldn't be the same across all different sports. So they didn't judge that as a part of this conversation.
Yeah, so
I have a problem with that, guys.
What's that?
Jeff, I have a problem with that, Jeff, because forget about whether it's Belichick or Brady and all that kind of stuff. I'm just talking about how your performance is normally versus how it is in high-leverage moments. Normally, of course, Peyton had higher performance than Brady. Brady's best years fit comfortably into Peyton's normal years. But that's not looking at high-leverage games. Brady has either remained himself or elevated usually under pressure. Recently, he's actually elevated. Peyton clearly was usually not his same self at the highest leverage moments, and I think that disqualifies him. I'm looking at his playoff losses. Here's the offense for you guys. 0 points in a loss, 3 points in a loss, 8 points in a loss, 13, 14, 16, 16. Like when you guys lost, a lot of times because the offense couldn't get going, and that's on the quarterback, brother, isn't it?
I would love for everybody to think it's on one guy. I would say this though to your who does it basically fall on? When you talk about the last few times, elevated moments when they played in the AFC Championship game in Denver, Peyton got the best of them. And if you want to compare it that way, if you match them up head to head and what they did against each other in the past and the most recent times, you would see it went the other way. I think if you look at Patriots versus Colts games, if you're matching, hey, what was it in those moments? What was it? Because we know we were the 2 best teams in the AFC year in and year out. How would that ultimately look? I understand when you go strictly playoffs, but you're talking about dominance, right, over the whole thing. When you talk about LeBron and what his dominance has been all the way through, do you blame LeBron for the times they don't win the championship as well? I mean, I think that's what you ultimately get into. So if you put championships into it, I can fully see the argument of Tom Brady being there. But if you look at them and compare them quarterback to quarterback, it's not close. You look at the stats week in and week out, who shows up and plays, all of that matters. Whether you think it does or not, to get to that final point, it all matters. When you get to the playoffs, all of it becomes team football to a much greater degree. I understand most fans don't get that, but we know that the margin, the error for margin is so much slimmer when you play very good football teams. That's just the bottom line of it. So I get where they put him 3. I get where they put him 20. Both guys, at the end of the day, have been the best that we've ever seen. But if you want to just compare them apples to apples, man, it's hard to say anybody was better than Peyton over his career.